Just notice what is arising for you in this moment, in your body, in your mind, in your heart space, and simply acknowledge where you're at in this moment. Tend to yourself, perhaps place a hand or two on an area of your body that requires your love, your attention, your focus. And just allow that to be okay. Perhaps there's some reassurance that is needed in this moment. Perhaps there's a niggling thought that wants your attention. Perhaps there's an ache or a sensation in your body. Simply acknowledge. Breathe into it. And in this moment, give gratitude to everything that came together, fell in place, moved out the way so that you could be here, devoting this time and energy to yourself. And let's start to take our attention to the constellation today. And we haven't all met each other first. Just hold that connection with this collective, with this constellation. Hold the awareness of this constellation in your consciousness, in your heart. And just start to energetically sense into this constellation. Maybe allow your tentacles to come out a little bit, to start to mingle with other energies. And keeping yourself sovereign, keeping yourself in your power, in your presence. And just check in with yourself that it's okay to be expanding your energy a little bit, connecting in with others. And keep yourself where you feel comfortable. So just start to pull your energies back into your own space and start to come back to your body, back to this space that you're in, the mat beneath you. And establish your connection with the earth, with Prithvi Mata, Mother Earth. Establish your own connection in your own way with the Divine Mother. And let's bring our palms together at our heart center to open this space together. Let's just spend a moment to drop into a deep sense of gratitude and to call in all the beautiful energies that are here to support, protect, and guide us. Starting first by giving gratitude to and calling in our higher selves, our ancestors, and the ancestors of this land. Calling in and giving gratitude to all the parts in our system, this incredible body vessel, all of the elements, the 4 cardinal directions, animal spirits, plant spirits, multidimensional beings here for the highest and greatest good, the angels, teachers, masters, gurus, ascended teachers, masters, and gurus. Calling in and giving gratitude to the nature beings, the rivers, the mountains, the forests, the trees that hold space for us on this planet so dearly, unconditionally. And calling in and giving gratitude to the plant spirits, herbs, and the flowers that we work with and work through us. And take this moment to call in your own guides, your own totems, to be with you, to journey with you, guide you, protect you. And visualize yourself now completely engulfed by a crystalline pyramid, 4-sided or 3-sided pyramid. And this pyramid protects you, protects your energy. It is crystalline and gleaming. Visualize or intend that you are completely within it. Breathe prana into empowering this crystalline pyramid. When you're ready, bring your palms down to your knees. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Inhale through the nose, breathing right down into the belly. And at the top of the inhalation, hold the breath. And as you hold the breath, relax the body, the face, the arms. And through the mouth, exhale. Draw the belly in, exhale fully. And again, inhale deeply through the nose, breathing down into the belly, holding the breath. Relax the body as you hold, tuning into your Agya chakra, your 3rd eye. And again, through the mouth, exhale. One more deep inhalation, breathing all the way down. Hold the breath, relax, focus at the Agya. Activating this connection of intuition, connection to the universe. And through the mouth, exhale. Come back to your natural breath. And take a moment, ground and anchor in. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come into this space. Namaste, 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 cosmic beings. So wonderful to be with you all. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm really excited to get to know you all a little bit and to hear where you're at and what called you to this gathering. And I would love for us to all just share together and to share our experiences of how it's been for you in this incredible time to play with your own energy, what you have noticed, what you have experienced with your own energy system. Perhaps you are learning to discern between your own and others' energy and energies around us, the energies of the collective. And so I would absolutely love us to tell our stories and weave our dreams together. So I will begin just to get us going. For those of you that don't know me, I am Natasha Anand. I am an integrated yoga teacher. I am from the Himalayan tantric lineage. This is the lineage of my ancestors, and that in this lifetime I'm here to really reconnect with and to study and to journey through. I also admit somebody here, beautiful. I also work with various other modalities. I'm a trauma-informed therapist, psychotherapist working with internal family systems. I also weave in naturopathy, various energy medicine techniques, shamanic practices, and sound healing as well. So it's a little bit about me. I'm going to be bringing quite a few of those elements in today. And I'm just going to share a little bit about what I've been noticing and discovering. This very much has influenced why I am holding this gathering today, because I really recognize with myself just how challenging it can be to navigate through all of the different energies that are weaving themselves together. And this very much is a weaving. I see it like a big melting pot, like a cauldron, and I'm a sort of a witch on one side of it, just seeing what I can salvage out of this crazy cauldron of all these different medicines that just keep getting added and added and added, coming from this direction and that direction. And I feel for me that very much sums up the time that we're in. This, everything is coming out, everything is getting put into the soup of the day. And for me, it's been very challenging on one hand, and on the other hand, an incredible learning experience that I've really reveled in to navigate these energies and to get to a greater depth of understanding of my own energies and what makes me tick and how I can stay in my sovereignty. So I'd love to go around and hear for you, and also if you would like to share, what does sovereignty mean to you? That would also be really wonderful to throw in the mix. So I'd love to do popcorn style. So whoever would like to come forth and share first, that would be really beautiful. So please share your name also and where you are. Who wants to go first or second? Louise, was that your hand going up? Go for it, my dear.
Hello? Hi, I'm Louise. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm slightly late. I had to walk back from the tram station, but we won't go into that. Sovereignty to me means knowing our own truth and releasing all of the attachments. Yeah.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much, my dear, for sharing. I love that. Very succinct and to the point. Oh, thank you. Would anybody else like to join in and share?
Hello, darling. I'll share.
Hello, my love.
Hello. Oh, I love that you are just scratching all my spots today, my sister. I love this because sovereignty is my soul's theme for this year. And to me, it's inner authority, self-possession, just really, really being centered, and that my own knowing is really coming from deep within myself, and my actions are coming from deep within my soul. And I love that the song as we just got on was to Ganesh, because I just started a 40-day commitment to Ganesh yesterday. So the synchronicity of that is quite beautiful. And the energies this past week and a half, it's settling down now this week, but last week from the eclipse was so insane. And I was just kind of in a holding pattern, and okay with that, realizing it needed to just be still. But there was definitely some really thick energies, and it's kind of why I brought in the Ganesh mantra to kind of break up what felt so thick and dense last week. So I'm here just to be in your shining wisdom, my dear, and to receive your beautiful tools just for as managing. I think the energies are going to get really thicker and thicker as we get close to solstice. So just ready to keep listening to the inner authority through these wise practices. Thank you.
Thank you, dear one, for sharing. Would anybody like to share next?
I'll share. Hi.
Hello, Chantal, my dear.
How are you?
Really well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Great.
Same as everyone's been saying, really. It's just sort of like at the moment I feel like it's getting to know myself and like my soul on a really deep level. I don't know if everyone else has, but I've really been struggling the past month. I can just feel the energy. So sometimes it's been like heavy, but not necessarily heavy in a bad way, but just overwhelming. And some days, like I've really emotional, felt like crying, but then I have felt like a massive change this last 2 weeks where it just feels like it's getting easier. So I've really like wanted to join, just sort of like, to gather some of your wisdom and, like the lady said before, some of the tools, to help get through this, because I think sometimes it can feel, overwhelming. I think getting to know yourself, like at such a deep level is really overwhelming, and especially when you've thrown everything else in as well. So yeah, I'm hoping to to get some more wisdom on it and tools.
Thank you, dear sister. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
Thank you.
Hi, Francesca. You've just joined us, my dear. We're all just we're doing a popcorn style sharing what drew us here and just how the energies have been navigating through us all in these incredible times. So, who would like to go next? Karen.
Hello, lovely.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
sure.
Well, in true Karen style, hadn't really given it much thought. Just like what you do, thought just show up. But now that I am here, and I suppose just thinking about the term sovereignty, and that's something that's really come into my active consciousness, I suppose, and just really in the last few months. For me, it's about moving from a space of trying to be in control to a space of stability and knowing. I think for me, I'm quite a swingy person, so I can get very all up here or all down here. And what I'm trying to find my stability and my knowing, so that regardless of what's happening around me, I don't feel the need to step into a space of control, because I think sometimes personally I can slip into masculine energy, and being in charge means asserting and making stuff happen and changing people around me. And what I'm learning massively is about just going in at a deeper level and finding, that inner certainty, and the miracles that happen around me when I do that is quite mind-blowing. You change around you. People you wouldn't imagine they do. So that for me is kind of a bit where I'm at on my journey, and hopefully tonight will be part of that.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Lisa, are you up for it?
Lisa, lovely to meet you all. I was invited here today by Helen. I know she's been doing some work with you, Natasha, and she spoke directly about the transformations that she's kind of already feeling. And I've kind of been sat in a space with myself now probably for about 18 months. I'm aware that I'm going into another transition of my life. My children are now adults. Work means something very different to me now. And I think you said, Louise, about, kind of really knowing your truths, but like really knowing your truth. Things, but then also sitting and being comfortable with what you then do with that truth. Because, it's one thing, I would have probably said maybe 2-3 years ago, I kind of started to go down that path of really knowing my truth. And what I've found over the last 18 months is it's how I now sit with that, and how I respond to them truths in a world that isn't designed for people to know their truths, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, I'm aware, and it's interesting, I'm sure that some of you will have heard your mother saying, if only I knew, what I knew then at that age, and here I am, lo and behold, at 52, thinking, if only I was where I am now at the age of 35, but yeah, I'm really excited for this next transition in my life, where there's a lot of people around me that kind of see going into them, that, that latter stages of your life as being a negative thing. And I'm completely on the opposite. I'm really excited about where my life is going and the choices that I'm making, and being confident with them truths, regardless of how people respond to them. It's taken me a long time to feel confident to be who I am today and who I want to be. So yeah, that's a biggie. That's a biggie for me. It's about working with them truths, and of course, it's an ongoing transitional thing, isn't it? So it's being mindful that things are on a constant change, and I'm on a constant change. So yeah, but really, really pleased to be here.
So pleased to have you here, my dear. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you. Hi, Nadine. Is that you? Yeah, great.
Hi. Really enjoyed listening to everyone's pieces, sayings, and I've definitely echo a lot of that. I think there's probably a lot that, even though we're all in our own little dinghies throughout this last year, people are sort of on the same wave, if you like. And I guess if I start with the sovereignty, if that was a question, what does that mean to me? I mean, I think that's a question that is coming up for a lot of us more and more at the moment, with all sorts of changes and things being imposed on us continuously. It's a word that has, I think, reached the surface for a bit more of circulation, if you like. For me at the moment, I think it means ownership of my body and my beliefs and my thoughts, which can be, a lot of the time to remain sovereign over those things when there's other influences at play is quite a task in itself these days. I think it means choice over those same things, your mind and your body. And more importantly, which somehow is what brought me down a rabbit hole to your event page, thank the universe, sovereignty over energy and your energy field, and perhaps what you give out to others, and how it affects you, which I'm finding in the immediate sense is something that I've been presented with as a challenge a lot over the last sort of month to 6 weeks specifically. And I think the last couple of years for myself, even just before the pandemic, have been a real shift. And right now, in the time we're living in, that's ever evolving, I guess, rapidly. So I'm really interested to sort of work through this workshop this evening, and really glad I came across it. I couldn't even tell you how I found it now. I'm just really pleased I did. I think that the last month itself has had a lot brought up for different people I've spoken to. I work in the holistic health arts as well myself, and just by talking to a lot of other people, it seems to be reassuring, I guess, in some way, that others are going through similar things, and similar sort of upheaval perhaps, or changes. For myself, I'm still trying to work through some real deep hurt and some definite big shifts that are going on, and move through it in a way where I'm trying to not be reactive in a sort of way of fear, or reactive as a sense, and trying to sit with the discomfort, even though I recognize the feelings and work through it. So I don't know if that sounds like jargon, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And things like the eclipse that happened last week, I really felt that quite hugely, and the Scorpio full moon almost a month just before that, wasn't it? So yes, breathing through it all. Still feeling sometimes a little bit glitchy, but really happy to be in this space. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadine. I'm so happy that you found us and we found you. We met somewhere in the ether. Would anybody else like to share? Okay. Okay. Thank you all so much for sharing. It's really wonderful to really connect in with where you're at, and for us as a constellation to get a different sense of what it is that we're here weaving together. I'm very much a believer that when we collectively call ourselves together into this constellation, that there's the stuff that appears on the surface of why we're doing it and what we're coming for ourselves and the things that we want to learn. But there is so much more going on beneath the surface. Our higher selves are conspiring to weave magic together in the ether, and so it's things start to become more apparent, start to make themselves known as we hear each other, we sense each other, and we recognize that this constellation is here for a reason at this very, very time. And I just want to invite you to, now that we've tuned into each other a little bit, to just drop into a space and set an intention for yourself for the next 2 hours. Set an intention for yourself, and also set an intention for the collective, not just this constellation, but what is it that you wish or you desire for the collective at this time, and how will our weaving, how will our dream weaving connect to the consciousness, support and aid the consciousness, the collective consciousness. So just spend a moment tuning into your own personal intention, and an intention that you have, or a prayer that you have for the collective. And you might even want to write that down once you've tuned into it. And maybe even just allow the intention to arise without trying to find it or search for it. So just take a moment to note down your intention if you haven't done so already, because it would be really wonderful to tune back into our intentions following the satsang before we go into the practice, to see if we can refine those intentions, see if we can spin those intentions, or if they want to be spun into an upgraded version. So spend a moment, make some notes, or just log it. And then we shall move on into the satsang. So please feel free to raise your hand, put your hand up. We will pause, ask questions. Let's get a discussion flowing. I would love for it to not just be me talking for the next half an hour, but also for us to weave in this together, for you to share your wisdom and ask questions as well, also to help me clarify and to help guide me as to where to go next. I tend to kind of show up without a script, so I really want to respond to you and what it is that you desire at this time. Okay, so what's really coming through for me right now is to just share a little bit of context to this sense of sovereignty that I'm tuning into at the moment. And I'm really mindful about not interfering with our own individual sense of what sovereignty is on a personal level. So for me, I'm kind of tuning into this on in terms of our own unity, this being that we are and the wholeness that we are, and hearing what so many of you are saying, which is really standing in your truth and really standing in your power and owning that, and having authority over your authentic self and your expressions is something that's come out, I think, from pretty much every one of you today. So for me, and my understanding of the way that this, what this is the simplest way of me describing it. My understanding is that we are multiple, that as a being, we have multiple aspects to this being. So in simplistic terms, we are mind, body, and soul. And also when you break that down even further, we become more and more complex. Also, there's more complexity, more multiplicity within this incredible being. In my experience, in my understanding, the mind itself is not just one entity. And this terminology of ego is bounded about quite a lot. And I'm going to share my own understanding of what ego energy is. And this is something that I really came into full view for me last year. So for me, a fundamental law of nature in this universe is duality or polarization. And we have this because of stuff that I'm not going to go into, but it's to do with the way that energy in this realm works. We've got to have these polar opposites, these positive and negative charge, so we say, on that a fundamental level, to create electricity and to drop into physical matter, to actually create physical matter, okay, and to have physical form. So this polarization or this duality is just a natural law, and there are many, many natural laws that you will innately know within you what those are, and we will talk about some of them. So for me, if we know that on one end of the spectrum that we have this experience of love, of unconditional love, okay, in this realm, and that experience of unconditional love is just enough to cut through all the bullshit. And this is what so many of us are aspiring to or moving towards, these expressions or experiences of love and joy. If we know that we have this is the easy one. For me, what is at the opposite end of this spectrum? Because everything is polarized in this physical relative reality. And what sits at this end for me is what I call ego energy, ego consciousness, what we have come to know as ego consciousness. For me, ego consciousness is not what we have within our mind construct. It is just like love and energy. And both of these energies, we are in the middle, and both of these energies come in and influence us. And our mind and our body as sovereign beings choose how much of this energy, of loving energy, to take and utilize for our beingness, and how much of this ego energy to take and utilize, and how much we allow these energies to come in also and influence us. And just in the same way that we can get totally hijacked by love, we are just brimming with joy and blissfulness and want to share that love. I know you've all felt that deep within your core. We can also get hijacked by ego energy and become so overwhelmed, even flooded by separation, by this energy of separation, because that for me is what characterizes this ego consciousness. It is the divisive, separative quality. Just as with love, if for me it's this togetherness and this connection and this uniting quality. So for me, wholeness or oneness is recognizing that we have both of these elements within us, and that is okay. So the other side of polarization or duality is that we've come to be quite attached to identify and label things in order for the cognitive mind, the nervous system, to form meaning. So when we are living more from our mind parts, the parts of our mind, that is the way that the mind works. When we are more coming from our self or soul energy, from our heart's resonance, the true resonance of our soul, that self energy, then we're not coming from this preordained or conditioned identity or belief system. We are coming from a deep intuitive knowing. So our wisdom comes from that deep intuitive knowing. It doesn't come from a place that's had to think and form that opinion and think, and calculate, based on past events and experiences to determine what should be moving forward in this moment. The soul or self just knows. And so as we navigate this world and we journey towards oneness and into being whole, for me, it's really important that we recognize that all of this lives within us. And one thing that I say to my clients and my students is that for me, the end point that I'm visualizing for myself or for you isn't like, oh, I'm now healed and nothing affects me and I'm just this beaming column of love and light and I'm, whatever. That's not, for me, realistic. For me, it's about being able to sit, and a few of you have said it already today, it's about being able to sit with the joy and the bliss and feel it, and also being able to sit with the discomfort, the pain and the suffering and feel it, yet not become it, to be able to come back to our sovereignty, to our center point. So we've got to indulge in the feelings. We've got to allow the feelings to overwhelm and take us, because if we don't, we're not invested. And if we're not invested in this blockbuster movie, this play, this theater, the matrix that we're in, if we're not invested in it, it actually, frankly, is boring. And yes, you can go and spend chunks of your life in a cave meditating, and that's going to bring you so much wisdom. And maybe that's what you want to spend one of your lives or this life doing. And, you know, I believe that's beautiful. And it's about, for me, having an integrated approach. And at the same time, for me, where I am right now, I recognize that in being whole and uniting all parts of myself, I've got to be invested in all of it. So this idea that, you know, I'm healed now and I no longer feel anger towards anyone, I think, frankly, is suppressing our anger, because it is an innate, fundamental part of our human nature. But the difference is that we just don't have to become it. And yes, at some point, we may no longer be triggered in that way because we've gone into that core wound and we've transmuted that energy. And so we no longer get triggered in that way, and the anger no longer arises because the seed from which that anger grew has been transmuted into something different. But for us to aspire to that is, for me, where things get a little problematic and where we start to get hard on ourselves. Because when we don't achieve that idea of what we think we need to do, that's when, you know, things can get a bit confusing. And so my invitation to you is, as we start to discern at a greater depth between what's ours, what's others, what's celestial, what is the collective, is to come into an agreement with yourself, to agree with yourself for it to be okay that you experience anger, that anger arises, or whatever emotion, whatever trigger it is, for it to be okay that that is within your system. To identify where you may feel ashamed or where you may feel guilty when certain emotions come up, because those are the little hidden gems within your system that if you work on those little nuggets, you will release so much energy. Sometimes we go directly for the, okay, I want to heal this big thing, and you know, we can be there for years and years and years and years and years, you know. But actually, if we just go for those hidden gems, working on releasing the shame for having enjoyed myself last Friday, or releasing the guilt of having drank a little bit of wine last night. If we can work on those things, then what we find is that we release a whole lot of energy that we are literally wasting. We are just, that energy is just churning, because then it's going round and round in the mind and it's being felt stuck in the loop in the body. And we're expending a lot of energy just trying to regulate that. So tune into what are, and maybe spend a moment right now writing a few words down. What are the dominant triggers that come up for you on a day-to-day basis that block you from your self-care, or from enjoying yourself, or from booking that dream retreat that you really want to book? Spending money on a new beautiful dress, having a little bit of cake. What are those dominant triggers that tend to come up and put something as a blocker in the way of your own pleasure, or your own experience of joy, or your own experience of what you know is really right for you at this time? because it's our energy is more familiar, okay? And so even as I'm giving you these instructions to note down, tune also into that inner, like that immediate sense that you know. When I ask you that question, what is the main trigger? Come up, right? Straight away. Like you know it, you feel it, you recognize it. So this familiarity of your own body is so wise. This body is so wise, and it will instantly tell you and show you. All you have to do is ask. If you are being affected by an energy, is drop down into that, to put your hand there, or to take your consciousness down into it and ask it, is this mine? Are you mine? Does this belong to me? And your body will tell you. You will feel it or you will sense it. Now, if it is, then it's likely that this sense or this trigger or this trauma is, or whatever it is, this energy is being held, it's stuck, it's on its journey, and it wants to be transmuted, it wants to be witnessed, and it's going to be transmuted into a high vibrational energy that can then be used by your system. If it's not yours, it's maybe ancestral. So ancestral energies come through to us through this meat suit, through the DNA of this body. Okay, so those energies come in with us, but you see, they're not ours, because as souls, we are fully sovereign. We do not belong to any other souls. We don't belong to our parents. We don't belong to our siblings. We don't belong to our partners. We only belong to ourselves. So when we come in, we've been gifted this incredible body. And we've been gifted a family to support us as well. So this body that we're gifted, it's just a part of the game. It's like, it's another level that we've got to unlock. So we journey with the energies that come with this body. So another layer, a level of discernment that you can utilize is to ask, is this ancestral? And you again will sense and you'll feel this. And it's one of these things where you, right now, I can kind of explain this technique to you, and you can write it down and you can be like, okay, but it's in actually practicing it on a day-to-day basis. And it really is as simple as tuning into that energy, taking your consciousness down there and asking, is this mine? No. Is this ancestral? Yes. Okay, great. And when it's ancestral, you can ask, you can send that energy back to where it came from. Literally using your visualization, utilizing whatever way, whatever method works for you. So you can see yourself, beaming a light or an energy. You can see it as water flowing or as fire burning or whatever you want. But the idea is that you're witnessing that energy, you're acknowledging it, and from your self energy, from your heart's resonance, you are sending that energy back to where it came from. Now, it's beautiful to do this as part of a ceremony. It's beautiful to light a candle or to burn a fire or to make an offering to the earth, create an earth mandala in the forest, go bathing and baptize yourself in the sea or in a river. There are so many ritualistic ways of working with nature that really help to embed this journey, okay, and really feel really good and help to create these neural pathways as well. But ultimately, it's as simple as just sitting here and utilizing your intention. But the key is really witnessing it from your heart's resonance, from your self energy. This can't be done from your mind. It doesn't work. Because the parts of our mind, some are, yes, very powerful and capable of this, but it can only really be sent back by the force, the true supreme force and energy of the soul. So if you tune into yourself and you ask if this is ancestral, and the voice comes back and it's not, so it's not yours, it's not ancestral, then it can be an energy that is somehow lingered, that's jumped from somebody else, or something that you've created, because we can create these entities, we can create these energies. Okay, and so I'm not going to go into how to transmute those or how to deal with those, because it wouldn't really be safe for me to do that in the context of a quick 2.5-hour workshop, when this requires deeper work that's more grounded in very alchemical and energy medicine grounded techniques, and that has to be navigated in a very safe way and safe environment. But this is something that I do teach in my teacher training programs, and something that I do offer to people coming to me individually for work and therapy. But what I want you to know is that it is also possible for you to learn how to transmute or detach any external energies that might be lingering around. And these techniques are really very simple. And I'm going to be actually teaching you the broader tool set that is required to clear your energies, keep yourself protected, and then empower yourself. So that's really what I want to segue to, is my short-term, medium-term, and long-term toolkit for you to be able to stay sovereign, maintain your sovereignty through holistic tools. But before we do that, I just want to also cover collective energies that are coming in from the collective consciousness, and also celestial energies, because we've talked a little bit about our own energies, other energies, and ancestral energies. So you can also go within and ask, is this collective? Now, so many people I have spoken to, and I'm sure you all have, like every single day, I'm speaking to people that are realizing more and more, okay, I'm experiencing something and I realize that this is not mine. This just isn't mine. This is the collective. What can happen sometimes is that because of the mechanisms of the mind, so we tend to have these cycles in the way that our mind works, and our mind ticks. And often what we can do is get stuck into our own tendency of our own mind cycle, and forget that there's a broader thing going on. So if my tendency is to, okay, I feel some discomfort, so then my next tendency is to immediately feel I don't know, some sort of fear around it, and then I might go into kind of a shame cycle, and then that goes into anger, and I don't know, I'm just making something up, but that might be my tendency, for example, when a discomforting feeling comes up. It's easy, so if that's my tendency, it's easy for me to get caught into that and just spiral into that, when actually it could be that this initial energy is actually, it's something that I'm feeling from the collective, because we all have the capacity to tune in and tap into what's going on collectively, because at this moment, the hive mind is intense. It is absolutely extraordinary. So it is totally relevant and plausible and likely that the discomfort that you are feeling is part of that is to do with the collective. So now that we can bring our consciousness awareness to that and say, okay, is this the collective? That's a way for us to break that cycle of that tendency of the mind. So we're immediately, just by asking that question, is this collective? That sense, you will get that sense, you will get that feedback back. And then that prevents you from spiraling off into that mind loop. And when you do that, you're creating new neural pathways. You're reminding yourself and reteaching yourself how to correct. So this is the major thing about this time. I've been using this analogy, I'm sure a lot of you have, around it's like we have hardware. So the nervous system is like the hardware, okay? And every so often, the hardware needs updating. So we use the holistic tools as a way of updating the hardware, okay? Because the hardware, it can't continue to hold. We're like moving into new parts of the galaxy. There's like this new intense energy coming. There's this pandemic situation and everything that's going on. It's like this hardware is gonna have to upgrade to hold all of that, to interface with all of that, okay? It's literally interfacing. That's what we're doing here. We're interfacing. So if we're going to upgrade the hardware, if we want to embody a greater experience and experience the multidimensionality, we have to upgrade the hardware, but we also have to upgrade the software as well. Okay, so the software is like the consciousness coming into the hardware, and the software installs different programs and different initiatives and different things that, you know, enable us to kind of unlock different aspects of our consciousness, knowledge, technologies. It's like, see our DNA, right, as this incredible interface that the software comes in and unlocking a different aspect of our consciousness. So we need these upgrades of the hardware and upgrades of the software right now at this time. It's so important. So we can reprogram the hardware, get these upgrades for the hardware also by rewiring our nervous system. And again, the consciousness, working with the consciousness, can come in and rewire those neural pathways and remind and reteach us how to function, because ultimately what we are doing now is we are in deep correction phase. So for way too long, the technology of the DNA has been systematically suppressed, and also a lot of it is our own choice, that we have chosen to suppress our own DNA, okay? This isn't a blame game. So what's happened is our functions, here shall we say our mind, body, spirit functions, some of them have been forgotten, okay? Some of the code has been scrambled. Some of it's even been forgotten. Some of it's stuck in a loop, like these looped thoughts that we can't break out of. It's literally a loop, you know, that we're stuck in. There's a part of us that's stuck in that time of when that initial trauma happened. And so what we need to do fundamentally is actually make corrections to the body, corrections to the mind. And those corrections come much more powerfully from the soul, from soul or spirit. So from our soul, we are the programmer. So we have the ability to channel in the cosmic intelligence, channel in our higher self wisdom, channel in the wisdom of the earth, all of which has everything we need. And that energy basically reprograms and corrects the mind and corrects the body. And that is how we start to remember at a greater depth what and who we are. We all have the answers within us. And I believe that my role and the role of teachers and guides and therapists are here as guides to support you to remember the innate wisdom that you already have within you. Louise, my dear, you're muted. Did you want to say something? No? Oh. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to share?
Sorry, Natasha, that was my son coming in.
Oh, it's all right.
Everything you said resonates very, very strongly with me. My whole journey, every time I, come to you, you support with so much, like so much. Everything resonates. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, my dear. I'm so glad. Okay, questions. Any questions from anyone? Any reflections?
I think for me, because it's quite a big one, before, I know you're aware of my accident, so before I had my accident, I had been working, as you know, for many years, and my youth work and everything, but I'd been invested by the social investment business just before my accident, and all of the redevelopment work we were doing was actually called the transition specialists. So now it seems to really fit with what's being said quite a lot of late.
Wow, beautiful. So deeply intuitive, way before your time, Louise. Oh, thank you, dear. Nadine, did you want to share something?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of what you said, I was just nodding to, and I do resonate. I think there's a lot going on at the moment, and some people are feeling quite chipper, and others are struggling perhaps in different ways. I think I might have mentioned it before, but yeah, the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks has been especially challenging for myself, and I've really tried to use all the tools that I have and also that are available to me through others to navigate through it. And I think the two things I've just noted down, which have come up repeatedly during even just this short phase, which perhaps led me to find about this gathering this evening, are trauma, old and new, which it felt a bit strange to label it to begin with, because I thought, oh, that sounds a bit dramatic, but this is going back to like Easter time, and I just felt this is some really old stuff coming up and I need to sit with it and try and work through it. At the time it felt like it just sort of surfaced in a very abrupt way, but then the theme of the last 6 weeks, perhaps as you were saying, collectively, but also for myself internally, has been almost like a challenge to keep working through that. Things have cropped up. I've had a very rapid change in my living situation, which has left me feeling grief. So trauma and grief are these two kind of emotions that I've been having to work through. Now, I know you said it comes up from whoever you perhaps been consulting with and speaking to, and I've spoken to friends and clients as well. And so I do get that it's a collective thing at the moment. I know we've all been through such a lot in the last year and a half, in varying degrees, but I think in terms of sitting with discomfort and being really honest and open about how I'm feeling, they are two really big chunky things at the moment. And some days I'm okay. Today, if I'm honest, I had a bit of a cry before I logged on because it all just feels a lot today. Yeah, so sovereignty at the moment is trying to reclaim enough almost like shield so that can just be another tool, because I think you can sit with discomfort, and it's good to do that because we can't keep running away from things. Or perhaps previously to the pandemic, I'll just speak for myself because I don't know anyone else personally, you would busy yourself with life and maybe you're feeling a certain way, but it would just get pushed to the back. Maybe Sunday, at the end of the week, you'd go, oh, I'm not actually feeling like that anymore. Oh, I've had a few drinks maybe, or maybe not even. And, things would pass, or like you said, be suppressed. Whereas what I've felt, especially in the last year and whatever this time has been, when things come up, there are less distractions to take you away from that. And you just have to kind of deal with it or not deal with it, however we independently cope. So
Thank you so much for your wisdom. It's really wonderful to connect with that. Would anybody else like to share or have any questions?
I just genuinely wanted to thank Nadine for your courage to be vulnerable and share and just unite us in that way. I really appreciate it, and it resonates, everything that you say, and I just wanted to support you, sister, and say thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to shift a little bit now into some kind of more technical things, and I for me the self-empowerment is really important. I've really shifted away from as I've purified my own intentions around how I want to show up to my students and my clients and people in my community, my family, moving away from needing to be the healer or needing to be the person that empowers to supporting others to self-heal, to self-lead, to self-empower. And pretty much all of the tools that I utilize. So if you've done individual one-to-one therapy with me, or you've been on my retreat or in a workshop, pretty much I would say 92% of all of the tools that I will utilize with you are tools that you can learn yourself. And for me, it's of utmost importance for me in terms of the alignment with my own personal values and principles as being a guide and a teacher. If I'm going to show up and I'm going to utilize a tool, it's got to be something that you can learn yourself, that I can either teach you or you can go to somebody else and learn in a cost-effective, efficient manner. And so I want to share a few energy medicine and tantric tools for working with our fundamental energy systems. And the basic premise and principle of this is, as we start to utilize these tools, that we develop a greater sense of awareness of our somatic experience, so the body, of the energy systems. So we have the nadis, which are the energy channels. We have the chakras, the main energy centers, and we have the aura, our bubble. Okay, and there are layers and layers of our aura, that subtle layers that you can tap into and work with that hold different sorts of information. And then in terms of the physical body, we have the biochemistry, we have the physical matter, the biophysiology, the organs, the tissues, the cells. And down to the cellular level, we have the physical structure of the cells and the different functions of the cells, but we also have the biomemory of the cell. And the biomemory is the energetic imprint that is held within the cell. So when we're talking about clearing trauma, we're talking about energy that we're holding within us from the collective or whatever it is. It's imprinting on the biomemory of the cell. And so sometimes it's easy as doing some energy work and using intention at the perfect time, and it's like it's shifted, that biomemory is cleared. But often it is consistent practice and work to shift that biomemory. And that's why for me it's really important to plug in and identify those key triggers. So for me, one of the main ones is, remember right back at the beginning of the talk, I was inviting you to tune into what is that dominating trigger that comes up and that allows you from progressing further. For me, it's judgment. So that judgment comes up and it's so discomforting. It literally, I will dissociate, I will just pull away, and I will just distract myself and move into something else. So then I'm not being present with that which is coming up. I'm not being present to the subtle energies of the body. And so for me, I made it a priority to really work on judgment, like massively, to clear as much of that energy, clear as much of the trauma, the initial traumas and energies that created the need for those parts of me to judge myself, and cleared enough of that so that as I'm journeying through all of this, I am not being distracted and pulled away and dissociated by my own judgment. So that for me has been really, really helpful in my progression and evolution of my energy system. Okay, so I'm again inviting you to go back to tuning into what is that dominant trigger that blocks you from going further. That would be a really beautiful hidden gem for you to bring into your energy practice. Okay, and energy practice is fundamental. I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here, but we are all energy, and I don't even need to go into that. Energy is what we are, it's how we communicate and how we interface. So the biochemistry, particularly the hormones, are the way that our energy interfaces with the physical body, the biochemistry of the body. The hormones are the interface. So depending on where our consciousness is at, where our mind is at, what thoughts are ticking, what energy we are cultivating. So our mind is cultivating that energy and our consciousness is cultivating that energy. So remember, we've got the mind and we've got the self energy here. If we're more dominant from our self energy, then the energy that we're cultivating is of a different vibration and quality than what we're cultivating when we're dominantly in our mind. Okay, so just imagine, putting it crudely, two very different energies being cultivated here. Okay, so when this energy, say I'm more in a mind dominant energy of my body, my self energy is a bit more suppressed, I'm coming more from this frequency of the mind, the energy that is interfacing through the hormones is a much denser, lower frequency and vibration than my self energy. So just imagine what that does to you on a physical level, compared to if your more dominant energy is more of this higher vibration, lighter, higher frequencies, and that's interfacing through your hormones into the body. And so imagine the fundamental difference in the body, in the structure of the body, in the appearance of the body, in the flexibility of the body, the expression of the body, the ability for the cells to regenerate, to refresh, for energy to flow through the body. So these are the kinds of hacks that, and these bits of consciousness that I really want to help you to kind of unlock. So your perception and awareness is now expanded to encompass embody this different experience of what it is to be multidimensional, a multidimensional being with multiple functionality. So we can learn to move more from our head into our heart. And remember, we are not pushing the mind away or telling the mind that it's not needed anymore. What we are doing is we are learning to stabilize into our self energy whilst allowing the mind to be there and doing its thing. We are correcting the mind. So the mind gets its upgrades. And the mind is on a different operating system. It's an upgraded hardware. The mind starts to really embody consciousness of self in a completely different way. And the mind starts to work for self. So the short-term, medium-term, and longer-term practices enable us to tap out of irrelevant frequencies. So when we're tapping into somebody's anger or pain, where is that coming from? Is that coming from a genuine experience of the heart, holding that person in compassion and being able to experience a little bit of what that person's experiencing, to empathize with that person, to through the memory of our own experience, through bringing ourselves to their level? Or are we allowing literally our mind to go into that space with that person? Because it's two different subtle realities here. So when we find ourselves taking on that anxiety, we go home after spending 2 hours with someone and we feel anxious. What we're doing is we've allowed our energy system and our mind to go into that person's world. We've tapped into their frequency. We've literally tuned our own frequency, like our little twiddle thing that we have here, and that we literally tapped into somebody else's frequency and we've kept it there. Whereas when we go into that space and we go from our self energy, we are beaming this naturally protective soul energy. Nothing can penetrate that, yet we can still sense and feel others. So there's a subtle difference there. We want to tap out of those irrelevant frequencies, and we want to empower ourselves naturally to create this natural protection. Also, when we boost our energy, then it's like things don't attach to us. So think about it in terms of science. Nothing can come and attach to you and linger about in your energy system, because your powerful energy is just zapping things away. It's literally nothing is able to hang on to you. So it's this natural protection that's really, really, really important. So the shorter term practices are things that we can do in the moment, that's very quick, that can shift our energy, that can clear energy, that can detach energy quickly. So things like the declarations or the affirmations or intentions to send that energy back to where it came from, to let that energy know it's not welcome there, or to just even acknowledge that energy, because sometimes acknowledging that shame or that guilt or whatever is there is enough to really diffuse it. Okay. And so diffusing technology, so barefoot on the earth, swimming in the ocean, bathing in the forest, the negative ions coming from the water and the trees is literally neutralizing the energy that's lingering around, the residual dense energy that is either ours or others or collective or whatever. So it's important as a daily practice to ground. It's so fundamental. Everybody must have a grounding practice every single day. So for me, it's different. My husband, it's different. We all have our own different techniques. That is what works for you. Another really easy way is to utilize incense to smudge. So, for example, sacred herbs and incense. I have here some sage that I use. This is from Israel. Very, very powerful. And mugwort here, which in the UK you will find. It's from the Artemisia species, and you also find it around the world. But mugwort is particularly protective. If you live in the UK, watch out for my mugwort initiations. I've already held one this year, but I'll be holding another one. This is our master plant in the UK, and she's a naturally very, very protective. There have been scientific studies done on burning mugwort around you and the way that actually impacts physiologically the body. It clears energy and trauma particularly intensely. And a lot of these sacred herbs do. That's why they're here. They're here to support us in this way. So another really, really very, very powerful way, and those of you that follow me on social media will have seen yesterday I did a post about this, is copal, frankincense and myrrh. So some really strong resins. So they come in these kind of rock-like formations, and you can buy coals and burn the coal and place the resin on there and literally bathe yourself in this very thick smoke. Now, the vibration of these plants is so high that it has the ability to just clear your energy instantly. And that's why we utilize these herbs and these resins to clear people's energies before any ceremony. Okay. There are also incredible, and I'll take photos of these and post them in the Facebook group for those of you that want to know what products that I use. But this is made by a dear soul sister. It's a psychic protection. It's a blend of flower essences used for protecting the energy levels. Now, flower essences are another incredible way to very quickly neutralize our auric field. And bring in corrections to the auric field. There's also this incredible company called Aura Soma, which I just found incredible. They have like hundreds of different flower essences and they're all over the world. You can also create your own. You can create your own essential. This is an essential oil spray. Again, very high vibrational plants that quickly help to neutralize our energy. So other really fantastic methods of breaking up particularly energy that we are experiencing ourselves so that it can be transmuted is to use instruments. So I have here a rattle. And you can use the rattle in different ways, different speeds. You can utilize them at your chakras. You can utilize them around your auric field. You can just work intuitively with this, and you don't need to be initiated. These are made from things you find in nature, fruits and seeds, but they are very, very, very effective. I always utilize rattles in pretty much all of my healing work. It's one of the most effective ways of breaking energy up, so that then you can transmute that through an energy process. Crystals, the dark black crystals, the obsidian, the tourmalines are incredible quantic medicine tools to discharge negative energy, dense or stagnant energy. I recommend crystals are used as a short-term effect. I also use a 528 hertz frequency tuning fork, which is a DNA aligned tuning fork. You can pick these up very cheaply, but these are really fantastic just to, again, cleanse and discharge and neutralize your energy. Okay, so these are some quick fixtures. Also, energy practices, navel pumping. So we're going to do some of this. I want you to kind of keep a lookout for some of these energy practices. So navel pumping, very important, clears this solar plexus energy, which is the day-to-day stress and anxiety. So the idea with clearing energy is that we unlock the bottom 3 chakras. So our fears are stored in the root. Our trauma and ancestral trauma is at the sacral, and our day-to-day worry, anxiety is here at the solar plexus. So when we unlock and unblock these energies, then the Kundalini Shakti can rise and activate the upper chakras, the Anahata, the Vishuddha, the Agya, and the Sasrara. And this activation takes us into greater depths and realms of ourself. So longer term, we want to be building the natural energy protection by activating the heart, because remember, the heart is the most powerful energetic field that we have. So the longer term practices, like the meditative practices, like the japa practices, when you're taking 11,000 rounds of a mantra, for example, the breath work and the kriya practices, these practices on the long term are unlocking the bottom triangle and activating the upper triangle, building the natural protection of the heart. And what I find in the middle are the medium term practices. And these are practices that bridge the short and the long term. So they help us get to the longer term practices. So rituals, really, 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 really important to keep us anchored into ourselves and keep us rooted in remembering that we are the creator. We are very much the creator. We are at the center of the universe. So every day I create a ritual. They'll have my little puja set here, and I light a candle. This is a very simplified ritual, and I will be teaching much more complex rituals in some of my upcoming courses. I light a candle, I offer a little bit of food, I have some water in here and some flowers from the garden, and I have my little bell because it's really beautiful. And I just take a few minutes to offer the elements to the divine. And what this does is it reminds me every day that I am the creator of my reality and I have the ability to literally recode the matrix. So we're going to journey a little bit together, and I'm going to share some practices with you to recalibrate, rewire your energy system to help unlock the bottom triangle and activate the upper triangle to give you a bit of an experience of what it is like to enjoy a journey at one of these Evolve Yoga journeys and to experience this very depthful level of journeying and exploration of self. So all of the journeys that I lead are about exploring our inner realms and coming into a greater awareness of our and stability within our self energy so that we can navigate the mind and the body with more grace and ease. Does anyone have any questions or any comments before we shift into the practice?
I just wanted to share.
Sure.
I've literally, before I come online with you guys, I was in a charity shop looking at two little bells, and I really wanted them, but wondered why I would want them. And now you've just shown me your bell. It makes perfect sense.
So which charity shop was it? You must tell me. I will go back and get them.
In Bury, it was the cat one. So this is the bag from there.
Okay, I'll get the details off you. I have been collecting puja kits for anybody that wants a beautiful, I have some really beautiful, beautiful kits. I have some beautiful trays and little brass bowls and little jugs and little candle holders and things for you to create your own little beautiful offering set. So if anybody wants any of those, please let me know. I have them and I would love to share them with you.
Amazing, thank you.
Any questions or sharings?
I've got one quick question about you were showing the resin before the copal. So I've got a jar of frankincense which I've had for many years now, like 5 years. But the last time I burnt it inside on the charcoal, even though I was really careful, it set off all the fire alarms. So I was wondering what your tip was if you have one for indoors.
Okay, really use the resin sparingly. So break up the larger chunks into really small chunks and really just sprinkle it on. I have a fine powder that I just sprinkle a little bit on open the window, do it near a window. If it's something you want to use every day, then set up your altar next to a window or a balcony that you can open and get that air ventilation going.
Okay. Do you think it was the size of resin as opposed to the charcoal itself then, I guess, that maybe I was using too much resin?
Yeah, it's definitely to do with, it doesn't matter how big your charcoal is, it's to do with the size of the resin. Yeah.
I mean, I would have it going all the time, but yeah, the alarms kind of went haywire. So.
Yeah, maybe find incense sticks made. So I've got one here, this is a copal incense stick that I got from Mexico. So it's just an easier, it's a lighter way of burning copal. Fab. Hey, any other questions? Okay, let's shift into a journey. So we'll take a 2-minute comfort break so I can get into some leggings. What I would like to ask of you all is that you kind of clear your space and have your yoga mat ready for a little journey. I'd like to know, does anyone need to leave at 8:30 UK time? So are we okay to maybe go over by about 15 minutes? Is that all right? Okay, perfect. Those of you that, is that okay with you, Karen and Lisa? Is that okay? Yeah? Are you laughing because you know that my things never finish on time? Yes. Oh, what's that? Okay, fab. Oh, right, great. Snacks, perfect. Okay, so let's meet back here in a couple of minutes.